Caparros, for inviting me to speak before you today. He tried very hard to get RI President Ian Ricey to appoint me as his RIPR, but I guess PDG Dean Dickinson had this not hammered down, so he was the pre-selected RIPR for this Discon. And after hearing him speak last night, I can understand why. He is a wow speaker. In fact, a double wow speaker. And in looking at his profile, we have a lot of similarities. He joined Rotary in 1972, while I joined in 1971. He served as president of his club in 2004-2005, while I served as club president of the Rotary Club of Pasig in 2006-2007, 3 years later. He was district governor of District 6250 in 2009-2010, while I served as district governor of District 3800 2 years later in 2011-2012. He should be a past RI president by now. Fortunately, your district conference is happening right after the April Rotary International Board meeting in Evanston, which is where I just came from. I arrived in San Francisco last night and slept at our home in South San Francisco. Yesterday, my good friend Joe Santos drove us from San Francisco to Yosemite in his wife's brand new Honda Clarity. Thank you, Joe. The Honda Clarity is a hybrid that gets over 42 miles per gallon. Gets almost 50 miles on a full charge of its batteries before the gas engine kicks in. That's an endorsement of this new Honda model. Great car. Are there any Honda dealers in this room? Maybe I earned a discount. I thought I had everything I needed when Joe picked us up yesterday morning, but when I was unpacking yesterday after we arrived here at the Tenaya Lodge, I realized I forgot a few things in the rush to come here. The first thing I forgot is obvious with the way I looked this morning. I forgot my necktie. That's not too bad because you can ignore the way I look. But I panicked when I couldn't find the USB stick where I had stored my speech in my PowerPoint presentation. Fortunately, I found a speech in my iPad Pro that I can use today. I've been delivering this speech in different districts in the Philippines, Indonesia, Australia, and New Zealand. But I had to work on it all night last night to make it fit. And I think it'll be okay. So please bear with me, all right?
Yes.
Over 30 years ago, a band of intrepid Rotarians served on the 1986-87 Rotary International Board. Allow me to speak to you about what this board did during their year of office over 30 years ago. Are you aware that it was the 1986-87 board that got Rotary into the business of eradicating polio? Are you also aware that it was the 1986-87 board, that it was in 1986-87 when women were admitted for membership into Rotary? And it was also the 1986-87 board that bought what we now know as One Rotary Center, the 18-story headquarters of Rotary International since 1988. And it was the 86-87 board that started the Rotary Village Corps, now called the Rotary Community Corps, which has been a very successful partner in service of many Rotary clubs around the world, especially in third world countries. Let me first talk about Rotary's involvement in the eradication of polio. As RIPR Dean Dickinson mentioned yesterday, using a $6 million 3H grant to immunize 6 million 5-year-old children in the Philippines, then RI President Jim Bomar gave the first polio drop to a child in Guadalupe Viejo in Makati in 1979. With the full cooperation of the Philippine government, led by my uncle, Dr. Enrique Garcia, who was then the Secretary of Health, all the 5-year-old children that could be found were immunized from polio using the Sabin oral polio vaccine. Rotary was so successful in this anti-polio campaign that in just 5 years, polio had been totally eradicated from the Philippines. There were few families in the Philippines that did not have a member that had been afflicted by polio. But now, thanks to Rotary, polio is no longer a dreaded disease in the Philippines. The Rotary International Board of 1986-87 then concluded that if polio could be so easily eradicated and so inexpensively in the Philippines, surely the same could be replicated throughout the rest of the world. And so, the RI Board decided to implement Polio Plus on a worldwide basis and started the international fund drive to raise $120 million to fund the immunization of children all over the world against polio. The goal was to accomplish the task in time for Rotary Centennial in 2005. As you can see, we are quite a few years behind schedule already. But despite the naysayers, the RI Board of 86-87 was able to collect almost $250 million, or more than double its original target at the end of 2 years. This was celebrated during the 1988 convention, where the governors of 86-87 were happy to see the result of what they had begun all over the world. That was due to the efforts of the governors of 86-87, one of whom went on to become an RI president, Gary C.K. Huang, the first RI president from Taiwan. With the persistence of the RI Board, the first Polio Plus immunization program was launched in 87, as Rotary tried to establish the procedure for reaching the children to be immunized through community mobilization. The World Health Organization had its own ideas on how this could be done. In fact, it had just started a campaign against 5 childhood diseases: diphtheria, pertussis, measles, tetanus, and tuberculosis, but not including polio. WHO discouraged Rotary from using the Sabin oral vaccine and urged instead the use of the Salk vaccine. They also wanted the children to be brought to health centers to receive vaccines kept at the right temperature. Fortunately, Rotary carried on despite opposition from the WHO. Polio Plus would have gone nowhere had Rotary followed the WHO's advice. Rotary continued with the Sabin oral vaccine, mobilized communities to find and collect the children as had been done in the Philippines, and brought to them vaccines kept cool with ice. This method allowed Rotary to reach 80% of the children, the kind of penetration needed to control the disease. WHO could reach only 30% at best, and in time had to join Rotary's effort and admit that its methods were not effective. Thanks to the RI Board of 86-87 and all the succeeding RI boards afterwards, we are now almost at the end of the battle against polio. Only Pakistan and Afghanistan still have the wild polio virus. Nigeria was about to be declared polio-free 3 years ago, when it suffered an outbreak with 4 children 2 years ago. Since then, however, there have been no new cases reported in Nigeria, and it is now again on its way to being declared polio-free. Let us give a big hand to Nigeria and give them hope of finally being declared polio-free. I am certain Pakistan will also be polio-free soon. There has only been 1 case of polio in Pakistan this year. Let us give a big hand to Pakistan. And in the Atlanta International Convention, $1.2 billion was pledged for the final battle with polio. The only other country where the wild polio virus is still roaming is Afghanistan. Because of the uncertain peace and order situation there, Rotary has been unable to immunize all the children that it needs to reach in order to stop the spread of the wild polio virus. 0 is the magic number, and we are almost there thanks to the 1986-87 board. After Polio Plus, do you know that it was during the term of the 86-87 board when women were finally admitted as members of Rotary? Like many Rotarians, I thought Rotary admitted women only in 1989, when the Council of Legislation removed the men-only requirement for Rotary membership. But it was the women who had been accepted as members by the Rotary Club of Duarte that caused the withdrawal of the charter of the club by Rotary International, who actually became the first women Rotarian when RI had to restore its charter in 1987 in obedience to the order of the US Supreme Court. From that time, even before the action of the Council of Legislation in 1989, women could not be legally denied membership in Rotary. And although the 86-87 RI board was not happy with the Supreme Court's reason for its decision, the result was the elimination of the barrier to membership of women, which it had been trying to break down for years. Opposition to the idea of allowing membership to women came principally from countries where women were second-class citizens, where segregation of the sexes was the norm and the opposite was frowned upon. But even in the United States and other Western countries, where gender equality was supposedly practiced, opposition was loud and vociferous, not only from the usual male macho types, but also from many women who did not like the idea of their husbands enjoying Rotary fellowship with other women. We should know that of the 1.2 million Rotarians that we now have around the world, some 300,000 are now women. Can you imagine what Rotary would be like now without women? Let us give women Rotarians a big hand. Thank you. I am happy to know that in District 3800 we inducted the very first woman district governor in the Philippines, Pastors to Governor Lina Aurelio, in 1997. Please let us give District 3800 and Pastors to Governor Lina Aurelio another big hand. We are honored here by the presence of the great governor from District 3020, Governor Levy Tolentino. A beautiful example of a female Rotarian. I am even happier to note that women are active Rotarians in District 5220. My aide to this district conference, Ellen Hancock, is a very capable lady pastor to governor. Your district governor-elect, Judy Lovett, and district governor nominee designate Sherry Cotta are excellent representatives of the female gender in District 5220. Let us give District 5220 and its lady Rotarians a big hand. After Polio Plus and Women in Rotary, I learned that it was the 86-87 board that decided to buy what we now know as One Rotary Center in Evanston, the central headquarters of Rotary. I learned that the original Rotary headquarters before 86 was a little building on Ridge Avenue that everyone loved, but it had already become too small for our then rapidly growing organization, forcing the RI board to start looking for a more ample home. The board considered moving to another town or even another state to build or buy a suitable sized building within Rotary's means. Then, miraculously, this almost new 18-story impressive edifice suddenly appeared in the market, a surplus from the merger of two big companies. The RI board pursued and bought it on the strong recommendation of its building search committee, one of whose members said quite seriously that he himself would buy the building if Rotary would not. The 86-87 RI board bought it only upon assurance from the finance committee that Rotary would have sufficient funds in the coming years to meet the amortizations. The mortgage was in fact paid off in just 6 years, indicating the wisdom of the purchase. So now, Rotary has a beautiful 18-story building that very comfortably houses Rotary's entire home staff and has a spacious first-class boardroom aside from a 190-seat auditorium. In addition, it earns almost $8 million a year in rental on the several floors that it does not use. It has already earned a good deal of money for Rotary since it was acquired 29 years ago. Finally, I learned that the origin of the Rotary Village Corps, now called the Rotary Community Corps, was the decision of the RI Board of 86-87. I learned that the RVC started at the beginning of 86-87 and is now found in 89 different countries, mostly in Asia and Central America. There are now over 9,000 RCCs with more than 200,000 members who actively assist their sponsor Rotary clubs in doing Rotary work that the Rotarians themselves would have difficulty doing. RCC is truly our first partner in service. It bears the Rotary name, and from the outset, its constitution included women members. What is so special about 86-87? That 4 of the most significant developments in Rotary were accomplished at that time. Polio Plus, the Rotary Community Corps, Women in Rotary, and the acquisition of 1 Rotary Center. It is noteworthy to note that 1986-87 was when the Rotary International president was a Filipino by the name of Caparros, the first and only Filipino to become RI president. Can I have a big hand for past RI president? Filipino Rotarians are very proud of this fact that a Filipino was able to effect such significant changes in the way Rotary worked since and then and since. We are equally proud of the significant achievements of District 5220 District Governor Ray Caparros, the first Filipino District Governor of District 5220. Can I have a big hand for District 5220? Great job, Governor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My thrust during the 2 years of my term as RI Director is to push for the growth of membership in the Philippines to 35,000 or more, so that we can be our own zone and can then elect more Filipino RI directors. The more Filipino RI directors, the more candidates we can have for the next Filipino RI president. Who knows what significant changes the next Filipino RI president can bring to the Rotary organization. Ever since I became active in Rotary, I have followed the calls of our RI presidents. Goodwill begins with you, said RI President Ernst Breitholtz from Norway in 1971 when I joined Rotary. Lead the way, said RI President Bill Boyd from New Zealand in 2006-2007. When I finally agreed to become club president of the Rotary Club of Pasig. Make dreams real, invoked RI President Dong Kern Lee from South Korea in 2008-2009, when I became a major donor level 3 and gave $50,000 to the Rotary Foundation. Reach within to embrace humanity, said RI President Kalyan Banerjee from India in 2011-2012, when I became District Governor of District 3800 and first joined the trustee circle of the Arts Club Society, giving $250,000 to the Rotary Foundation. Light up Rotary, said RI President Gary Wang from Taiwan in 2013, when I joined the chair circle of the Arts Club Society. Be a gift to the world, said RI President Ravi Ravindran from Sri Lanka in 2014, when I was a training leader at the International Assembly. Rotary serving humanity, declared the RI President from the United States of America, John Germ, in 2016, when I was chair of the Philippine College of Rotary Governors. And this Rotary year 2017-2018, when I became chairman of the Philippine Rotary Magazine Foundation and then RI Director-elect. Australian RI President Ian Risley exalted us to have Rotary make a difference. We are Rotarians. We lead We serve, we give, we change the world as we live our favorite motto of service above self. Let us make a difference in the communities that we live in as we serve humanity while being gifts to the world. For the next Rotary year 2018-2019, incoming RI President Barry Rassen has asked us to be the inspiration as we become true men for others. Let us thank the members of the RI Board of 1986-87, led by Filipino Matt Caparros, for the significant development they brought about during their 1 year of service. And thank you to District Governor Ray Caparros for his achievements in District 5220. Thank you for inviting me to speak before you today. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. It is our pleasure to give you a gift from our district because, and you can take it either as a gift from the district, a general gift, or because it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ralphie. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much.